This is how they'd say it. They don't go into depth or nothing. They're just like, yeah, arm the teachers. Yeah. Like all the teachers, they got guns now.
Yeah. So to your earlier question is like, what's a solution that won't work? The problem with that is the details of any solution. Mm-hmm. You take any one of these solutions, and there's certain details that would make it better, and some details, if you don't include them, are going to make it a disaster. Yeah. Like you just throw weapons into every classroom with random people that haven't been trained. That's going to be a problem, right? Because you got teachers that might go crazy, right? There's all kinds of things going on. So you take any of these solutions and you take it to a certain extent. I mean, some of the ways of looking at things can be so different depending on who you are. That, like, what's the term they use? Reasonable gun control. Reasonable gun control means completely different things to different people depending on who you are and what your background is.
So true.
And so to just say, hey, we should have reasonable gun control, like I said, that means completely different things depending on who you're talking to.
Yeah.
So that's why for this, I just want to talk about, hey, here's something I do know about, and here's a pragmatic solution that will help. And it should be implemented.
Bro, that's so true, huh? Because there's guys, and this is going to come as no surprise, but when you put it into perspective, where there are people who at 6 years old, they got their first gun. 6.
Yeah.
Then same country, same state a lot of time, maybe even same neighborhood. There are people who've never shot a gun ever in their life, and they're like 60 years old.
Yeah.
So you figure someone who's never shot a gun, never handled a gun or whatever, the idea of a gun potentially can be like, that is just a death tool. That is just an object of death. So they just don't know, Mm-hmm. And then versus the guy who got their gun at 6, and guns are all around the house and cases and the truck and, all this stuff. Where it's like, no, it's not a thing of death. It's just a tool, just like a saw or a hammer or something like that. Where, how, obviously people say this all the time, where it's like, hey, if someone kills someone with a hammer, you don't outlaw hammers. It's like they literally feel guns are in the same exact category. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But then the person who's never shot a gun, how he's going to feel is like, no, a hammer is to hit nails. If someone gets all crazy and starts hitting heads with it, that's different. Guns are made to shoot people, kind of a thing. That's their attitude, or how they feel about it. So it's like, yeah, then now we need laws now, right, for the guns. But these laws apply to everybody. The 6-year-old guy, or the guy who's gun at 6, and also the guy who's never shot a gun ever in his life. These laws have to apply to both people. So it's hard to land those laws, effectively where everyone's going to like them.
Yeah, it's very hard. And what makes it even harder is that the two sides don't talk to each other in a reasonable way to try and figure out what would be a reasonable solution.
Yeah, man.
So there I am using the reasonable gun laws myself, using that term.
That ambiguous term. Yeah, it's true. Well, and then, because you kind of, it makes sense on a certain level, even though it's still not effective, right? Where, let's say I got a gun, my first gun at 6, 22, little rifle, freaking awesome. I grow up, all kinds of guns, right? I have all kinds of guns. I've shot. My kids shoot guns, all this stuff. And then you have a whole family of people who live next door or whatever, across the street. And they've never shot a gun ever in their life, and they're scared of them. So now they're like, hey, we'll just say highly intimidated or something like that. So they come about and they're like, oh my gosh, like a gun or whatever. And then the person who's used to guns are like, you're kind of being dumb. You're kind of being unreasonable right now. Like this gun, you have to pull the trigger, shoot, point at something, pull the trigger for it to shoot or whatever. It doesn't just automatically kill people, right? So you're dumb for being scared about that kind of stuff. It's reasonable that feeling would kind of take place. You see what I'm saying? Mm. And then you have the opposite feeling where it's like, oh, you guys are gun nuts. Like you have 50 guns, 50. I've never shot a gun in my life. I'm scared of guns. And you have 50 of them. Is it unreasonable for me to be uncomfortable if I'm like that? Seems pretty normal is what I'm saying. Mm. So I'm saying like that conflict makes sense to me.